Okay, hi there. Howdy do. We have a very gloomy afternoon here. I don't know how it is in your part of the world, but it's kind of rainy and gloomy. Okay, let's see here. Just making sure I've got everything set up right. All right. All right. Hi, guys. Got a bunch of people coming on already. That's wonderful. All right. Marianne, it's beautiful in Maine. How wonderful. I bet it is beautiful with all the fall colors. Hello, everyone. Hey, Patty. I'm a ray of sunshine on this cloudy day. You're going to make me blush. All right. Yeah, we had quite a storm too. Real heavy rains. I think we've had enough rain now for a while anyway. We sure needed it, but not quite like that. All right. So I'm hopefully going to cover a lot of ground here. With the water castings, I did a demo on water castings in the, I don't know, in the early fall last year. It is available to watch in the video demo archives that's on the group page. So I don't have the date, but all of the dates are listed, and it's maybe September or something like that. So you can watch the whole process. I am going to briefly make a few water castings just for people who don't know what that is. And then you can always do the replay if you want to see that too. Wendy, you have a sunny day for a change, huh? Beautiful in southeast Missouri, Ann? All right. All right. Deb's on time. Well, all is right with the world then. All right, so I'm going to show you basically the same things that I posted for the advertisement for the demo, and kind of go over. Oh, I forgot to get a few things. I guess I'll have to do that later. All right, let me bring the camera down here, and hopefully I'll try to get it into the frame properly. Let's see here. I can't turn the camera phone sideways like you would think it should be, but for some reason it won't do the video for Facebook Live that way. It works for other videos, but not on the Facebook format. Okay. All right, so here we go. I think we're pretty much in the frame. I'll try to move it around a little bit. Maybe I should do it this way. Maybe that's better. There's a little time delay between my phone and my laptop where I try to check what I'm doing on there. So just bear with me, please. And let me know if it's too close. Okay. All right. So what I did was I was playing around with water castings and trying to figure out what I could do with these cute little things. And I've seen other people do similar things. So I just tried to expand upon that. And I really like these earrings a lot, both pairs. This one is just on a piece of 14 gauge sterling wire, and put some little balls in there. I've seen something similar to this done. It's not like it's truly authentic. But I was thinking with the little water castings, you could also make some little components. This is what I forgot to put on the table. But I might have a few things to work with that I don't have to get up too many times. All right, so anyway, these would make cute little earrings too if you like dainty earrings. It's just a water casting on top and bottom of a Swarovski pearl, and same with this, just kind of inside out on this one. But I was thinking it could be fun to make like a bracelet or a larger piece with the castings on either sides of the beads. So that's a definite possibility. And I'm mad now that I didn't put that stuff out. Forgot about it. Earrings, little post earrings. I did these in the first demo on water castings. I put those together on the demo, so you can refer to that if you want to see how that was done. These have a little tiny 2mm tube setting and 2mm CZ in there. I can't say that they were super easy to do, but if I could do it, I'm sure you guys could do it too. So there's that. Then I made just a simple little stack ring, put a water casting on there with a little silver ball, which is pretty simple. And then this one was, this ring, the wavy ring like this, was another demo that I did in the fall. That if you haven't seen that, you can look that one up too. It was for, I'm not remembering exactly what I called it, but I think it was wire hoops, something or other. And then I put a water casting on top, soldered that on, and this one is a 3mm tube setting and CZ. This one was a little bit easier to work with because it was a little bit larger. Then I think in the water casting demo that I did in the fall, I did these little pins that you could make something out of. I don't know what exactly, but you know, they're just kind of fun little things. And what I had done was I soldered the water casting onto a piece of wire, and then I put a little drop of acrylic paint inside of them, different colors. And then after that was dry, then I poured a little resin, just capped it off with a little bit of resin on top of there. So I thought those were kind of a fun little thing. I don't know. It's just kind of a whimsical something or other that you can incorporate into some of your jewelry or some kind of mixed media project that you have. Or you could put them in a little tiny jar and pretend they're flowers, little flower vase. So that's kind of fun too. All right, let's see here. All right, and this again was one of the components similar to the one that I put the pearls on. This has just got some silver, I think they're 4mm silver balls in here, silver beads, and then capped with water castings, and then just put in a simple hammered hoop. For you could make earrings like this or make it as a pendant too. So that is a possibility. And then this bracelet is just a simple copper bracelet with a Byzantine weave. And I put 3 little water castings with the little balls on there too. So you can kind of, I don't know, have fun with this and think of different ideas. It's certainly not limited to this. It's whatever your imagination comes up with. That can be kind of fun. So let's see here. Yeah, it does look like a little mini bouquet, Renee. I thought that was kind of fun. All right. So let's see. I'm just checking on comments right here because it looks like we have a pretty good crowd and people are commenting. All right. Deb, you went on a beautiful walk this morning. Oh, wow. I can't get my lazy ass going, so I give you kudos for that. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do, I guess, because I really hadn't figured how exactly I was going to present all of this. What I'll do is give you a little quick demo on making the water castings, and then kind of play around with some of the ideas. Marianne, you can use sterling or fine silver. It doesn't really matter. Fine silver costs a little bit more than sterling does, so the only thing with sterling is you have to pickle it, and you don't really have to pickle it with the fine, but that is, just an option. Whatever you want to do. And for the castings themselves, they can be made with 18 gauge, 16 gauge, or 14 gauge. I kind of like 16 gauge the best in my experience. So, but you could do whatever you have. Marianne, I haven't tried to enamel these. I'm not sure I would, if I did it, I don't know how I would do it. I don't know. I'd have to try that. If anybody tries that, let me know. But I will try that because I don't know if I would melt them, by trying to get the enamel hot enough or not. But unless I try it, I really don't know. Okay, so I'm going to set these aside, and I'll make a couple of water castings. I'll tell you guys, it's addicting. It's a lot of fun, and it's addicting, and you can get carried away if you have a lot of silver. And I guarantee you won't have a lot of silver if you keep doing this, because you can go through it pretty quickly. Yeah, the resin, that's the only thing that I did with resin on that, but resin's acceptable, so that might be fun to investigate that a little bit more. Okay, so for the water castings, I'm going to show you my setup here, and I'm using a butane canister and a torch head. This is a Eurotool torch head, but I also have one made by Sterno, and both of them are fine. I haven't had any problem with either one. I haven't had them all that long, maybe a year. So I have no idea how long they last. But so far, it served me pretty well. All right, so I have my torch. A little butane torch is probably not quite hot enough. But these are relatively inexpensive, and you can get refills for this easily. You can get them on Amazon, but you can also get them in the camping sections, like in Walmart. I'm not sure about the heads. I think you can, but I'm not sure. But anyway, they last a long time, unless you do a tremendous amount of torching. So, that, and then I've got a bowl of water. I think the jury's still out whether it's cold water or room temperature water. I don't know that it really matters. This has been sitting out all night, so it's room temperature, but kind of cool. So, okay, Home Depot has the heads and butane too. Good to know. Good to know. I had just gotten them online, so I wasn't really sure where they are obtainable. Okay, so I'm going to use some 16 gauge wire. This is sterling, and I have a pair of crappy needle nose pliers that I got at Harbor Freight. I use these a lot for all kinds of things, so I've found several pairs are nice to have around. Okay, so I'm going to get the wire. I've got my water. And I'm going to hopefully be in the frame properly. I'm going to try to check. Okay, so let's make sure I'm not going to set anything on fire. This is not my normal setup, so I have to make sure that things are safe. And I'm going to turn on my torch. I have a fan going in the room too, so I'm hoping that that's not going to interfere with the heat. So what I'm going to do is I want to make sure that I position my wire in the hottest part of the flame, which is right here, the tip of the blue flame. That's where the flame is the hottest. That's where I want to suspend my my wire. So I'm going to just hold on to this, and got my water bowl right underneath. Oh, I can see I'm pixelating on screen. Great. Why does this always happen when I'm doing something important? Okay, so I'm getting this heated up. You can see the bead is starting to draw. It's going up, going up, going up. Oh, I moved a little bit. And drop into the water. I'll drop a few in, and then I will show you what I just made. And I think maybe this isn't quite hot enough, because I'm not getting good cups here yet. Yeah, that was a good one. Are you guys seeing this okay? I don't think I'm right in the tip very well. That was a bad one. Okay, here we go. Bonsai. And remember, your pliers are going to be mighty hot, so you want to be careful where you set them down, that you don't touch them again. I have to reposition my wire because I'm running out of it. All these things to consider and not burn myself. Okay. I think I can get one more out of this. That's kind of dicey right there. I'm very close to the pliers, which is pulling the heat. Okay. All right. So I've cooled off my pliers, and I guess I just have to go in here with my hand. Or did I bring a pair of tweezers? Probably not. Oh, here they are. I was using 16 gauge on that one. Let me check here. Just checking here. Yeah, the wire, you know, as it's melting, you know, it draws up and then it becomes heavy and then it drops off, you know. So that is what happens there. It'll only get so big. It doesn't matter what gauge wire, it's only going to get so big before it drops off. And then I've got a few duds here because I don't think I was holding it in the flame properly. All right, so let me turn this down. Yeah, Gwen, I could do this all day long if I had enough wire. But then, you know, that's the thing. It's like you got to find a way to use these things, hence this demo. So I'm sure I would love to see what other people come up with. So these are the 5 successful ones and 4 blobs, but they're still good to put in your scraps, so you can still do something with them. Yeah, and balls go in the center. So since these are sterling, you know, they're going to have to go into the pickle, but you can see they're pretty good shapes. You don't always get a good cupped shape, but there are fun things that you can do with the odd shapes as well. I've made rings with bigger pieces of water castings, flatter, you know, that I've put a bezel cup on and a stone, you know, so those are kind of fun to do as well. I don't have an example of that here. Now, the bottom is going to be rounded, and we'll address that in a few minutes. But these are pretty uniform, you know, if you're looking for that, you know, for uniformity. So that's kind of a fun thing. So that's what 16 gauge produces. You know, you have to be high enough up so that it has a substantial drop into the water. You don't want to be too high, but you don't want to be right above the water either. You want it to be able, you know, gravity to just go down into the water, and that helps make the cup shape. I think. I don't have any scientific proof, but just in my experience, I think that's how it works. So, and you saw as the wire was getting smaller, it was taking longer for that ball to form because a lot of that heat was going into the pliers and not on the wire, so it took longer. So really, that last ball was kind of silly. I guess I didn't have to do that one, but you know, at least you see what happens. All right, so let's see. All right. Yeah, I mean the consistency is nice. That's what I like, but you know, it doesn't always work out that way, and sometimes a little mix up is you know, a little mixing up of this stuff is kind of fun. So I'm going to put this water aside because I'll inevitably dump it. And then the next thing, I'm going to show you how I treat my water castings. All right. So I have just a small box. I don't have a lot of water castings, but and I've mixed this up. In truth, this is not how it's supposed to be. I was kind of rushing around the other day trying to prepare what I was going to do, and I was looking for pieces that matched, and I kind of mixed everything up. But what a nice thing to do, at least I think a nice thing to do, is I used just a piece of like an index card, and I tried to match up pairs of castings, if you can see that. And some of these haven't been tumbled, but these have. And this probably is only necessary. I don't know if I even want to use the word necessary, but if you're doing like pairs of post earrings, it might be, I think it's nice to have, you know, similar sizes. You're never going to have two exactly the same, and you know, that's okay. But some of these are pretty darn close. I was actually pretty surprised how nice these came out. So I kind of set these aside from the general population in here. But I was going, you know, small and then maybe a little bit bigger and then a little bit bigger and so on, you know, just to keep a little bit of distinction between them. Now this is a pretty flat one. Why that came out so flat, I don't know, but that would be really cute with a little tube setting or bezel cup on there and a little stone. I think that'd be real cute, put on top of a ring or whatever. So there are odd shaped ones for sure. You know, that's gonna happen. But I think that's kind of the fun of it too. So there are quite a few different little pieces, and you can make little clusters of them. I think that would be kind of fun too. So, and some of them have more jagged edges than others. Some are more cupped, but all of them are usable. It's just, you know, determining how you want to use them. But there's lots of neat things. And that's where I think it's fun, you know, like you could put resin in there. You could either put colored resin in there, or you could just use the acrylic paint like I've done on other demos, where you can just put a little dab of colored paint in there. And then when that's dry, then you can fill them with resin. But you would do that after the fact if you were soldering these on to anything, of course. Okay. All right, so that's one way to deal with your castings, to store them. And then this I just used, like I said, a little piece of cardstock, double stick tape, and just stuck them on there and keep them in there just for safekeeping. And I'm gonna check for comments and then we'll move on. All right. Okay, Benira, I'm gonna talk about that. Okay, I'll talk about that right now. If you're going to thread your water castings on something, like I did on these little components, like that, they need a hole in them. And you know, you could probably use a 2-hole punch on the smaller setting. Where are my pliers? Oh, right here. Okay. For these, I used a 1.5 millimeter hole. I've got another pair that's 1.8 millimeters. It's a little bit larger, and I think it's too large, but I'm not sure if these come any smaller or not than the 1.5, but you can punch a hole with these. It's a little bit tedious, but you can do it. And I'll just put my water casting there, and I'm, of course, eyeballing it for the center and just punch it. And that's not hard, but the hard part is getting the casting off of the punch pliers, which that wasn't bad. So I made my hole in there. So you can thread them on either a beading wire, cord, or head pins, whatever, by, oh, excuse me here. That's my obligatory phone call while I'm doing the demo. Always happens. So yeah, I mean, and this would be kind of a good way to use up some of your random shapes too, if you wanted to string them in a project. But that makes a nice little hole, or not. Okay. All right. I don't know if you can see that or not, but there are little holes in there that, that enable you to string them. Okay. So that's how I make the holes in there. I've not seen anybody else do them, so I don't know if anybody else has a different way. Marianne, I've used the 14 gauge too, and they don't really come out that much bigger, but you could certainly try. I think I have a piece. Well, I know I have a piece. Oh, just for the heck of it, let's do a piece of 14 gauge. This was the 16. I guess I don't have any other piece cut. Let's just do that. Let's do a 14 gauge wire. If you guys don't mind, we'll settle that right now. All right, so I'm gonna, where's my cutters? Here they are. Cut off a piece of 14 gauge. I might be running a little bit low on fuel. Or not. Maybe I just didn't have it turned up high enough before. Okay, so this is 14 gauge wire. Okay, so that was 14 gauge. We'll compare it to the other ones. All right. So these were the 16 gauge. And these are the 14 gauge. I would say there's a little difference, but not that much. Can you guys see them okay? Yeah, Melissa, fine silver works just fine. It works great. I chose to use the sterling because I'm going to be adding these to sterling, and I don't want the possibility of melting those. Yeah, it might have just a slightly heavier wall, but it's not, I mean, here's the 16. That looks pretty darn close to that. So, I mean, it's going to weigh a little bit more, but I suppose, but I don't know that it's that significant of a difference. Probably a good test would be to do some 18 gauge too as well, but that's totally, I don't know. I think you can get a pretty satisfactory casting from all of these different ones. Let me see. I'm going to check the 18 gauge. I've got the box of wire out here, so just bear with me a second. No, that's 14. What? Sorry. Here we go. And let's see here. All right, I found my 18 gauge. Of course, it's tangled, but I'm just going to snip off a little piece. All right. I'll recenter this. I hope you guys don't mind with the experimentation, deviating from the plan just a bit, but I wasn't really going to construct any projects, just kind of showing you how I go about working with them, which can be helpful. All right, so this I'm going to try the 18 gauge, and we'll see what happens with that. That way you have a more informed idea. And in case you have those gauges of wire, you can just use those too. Well, blow me down, that looks pretty good. That draws up really easily because the wire's thinner, I guess. Nice big balls. Am I not in the flame? I'm telling you, as you get older, your eyeballs really change. It's like some things are too close, some things aren't close enough. All right. I did 4 of these just for shits and giggles. Okay. And then we will compare. All right. All right. So, guys, you know, I don't see a whole heck of a lot of difference. I mean, there is, but not substantial. So I would say work with whatever gauge, well, not with whatever, but I mean, work within those 3 gauges. You know, the thicker your wire, the more expensive it is if that's a factor for you. So you might just be satisfied with the 18 gauge wire. So 18 gauge, 16 gauge, 14 gauge. So, you know, I'm saying, well, yeah, the wall thickness is gonna be a little bit different, but you know, if you're adding them to another project, I don't know that would be an important factor or not. I guess the only cause for concern would maybe be if you're over firing and you might melt them if they're a thinner wall. You know, I don't know. I haven't done enough of it to really know all the consequences or benefits of using the different size gauges. But just as decorative little doodads, I think any gauge would work. So Renee, is that whatever the gauge, the silver drops when it gets to a certain weight because of the pull of gravity? Yeah, you're melting it and gravity is just going to pull it down. So you want to just make sure, I mean, you saw about what distance I had for the drop off, you know, for the can. So I would say, let's see here, I've got a ruler here somewhere. In my situation, it is about a 6-inch drop from the top of the torch head, the nozzle, to the water. So, because I've got the water, there's maybe a 1/2 inch away from the top. So, but it took a nice plunge going down, you know, when the ball fell off and went into the water. So, okay, so that's our gauge comparison. All right, the next thing I would suggest when you're working with the castings is, if you're going to solder them to other pieces, you need to have a flat bottom. So what I've found as a workable way for me is using this double stick nano tape. Well, I would, you know, the next step before I use them is I would clean these up. Okay, so they would go into the pickle and I'd get all the fire scale off of them. And then I would use a piece of nano tape, which is a double stick, thick. It's real thick stuff. It comes in, at least this is the way I got it. It comes in a roll and it's very sticky, so I put it in this bag so it doesn't stick to anything and it stays clean. And it just comes like this, and you cut a section off however you need it. And it has a protective film over it. So I attached one of the sticky sides to an acrylic stamping block like this, and then I keep that little protective film to cover this over because it picks up everything, and then it won't stick anymore. It loses its sticky because it's got dust or crumbs from filing or whatever. So the best thing is to just, this one is pretty used up already, but when it's fresh like this, just cover it up so it doesn't get dirty. But what I'll do is I'll put, and this is how it gets dirty, at least for me, I'll put these in upside down and stick them into the tape. And you can do it one of two ways that I'm aware of. And that is, you can either turn this over and sand the bottoms on sandpaper, or a quicker method that I am all for is, but make sure you press them down in there well, is I'm going to use my micromotor and a coarse pumice wheel. Okay, turn on. All right, and I'm going to put a face shield on because these pumice wheels make a lot of grit flying around, and I don't want them in my face. And I will just flatten a spot. Am I in this frame okay? I will just flatten a spot. On each of them. And they don't go anywhere when they're on, if you've stuck these down in the tape well. And it's a whole lot faster than sanding them. But, you know, that's up to you, whichever way you want to do it. All right. So those are flat. And they do stick to the tape a little bit because the metal gets warm as you're doing that. But these will sit very nicely when you're getting ready to solder. Let me take that thing off. Okay. But yeah, use a face shield or at least eye protection. But you know, when I use when I'm using those pumice wheels or any of those wheels that shed all over the place, I like to have a long face shield because all those little crumbs go on my neck or on my shirt, and I hate that. I just hate that. So having that kind of helps prevent that from happening. Okay. All right. Lena, I don't know. Maybe it is washable. I've never tried it. How deep is the bowl? The bowl is that's in centimeters. The bowl is about a 4-inch bowl. Maybe not quite. So, but you know, I don't know that matters so much as I know I'm going to spill this stuff. As that it has a sufficient drop point, you know, from the flame to the water. Okay. All right. All right. Yeah, I'm going to try washing it and see what happens. I think that roll will probably last more than my lifetime, so I'm not too worried about using up bits. But you can see just from using that wheel on here, all the little dust crumbs, you know, that accumulate on there. All right, so that's one way to, that's, you know, either by sanding them or using that flex shaft wheel, you know, that polishing wheel, you can get that off. Another thing, making balls. I think we should cover making balls briefly because that's kind of important, and especially if you want them to be uniform. All right, so I have a little jar of pickle that I brought over here. Cute little jar. And I'll stick these water castings in there so they can clean up. I've got these on a little cup warmer, a little jar of pickle. All right, so for the balls, I have a very lousy charcoal block. I have a new one. I need to break it out. This one is pretty well toast. If you haven't used a charcoal block, you should wrap it with binding wire, which is around the edges, because these blocks are notorious for breaking apart. So the binding wire will help keep them together. I had asked a question last night in one of the groups about what's better to use, a hard block or a soft block. And the unanimous vote was a hard block. However, their soft block is good for digging, carving holes and different things in, if you want to use it. And I see here, I'd forgotten about it, but I had actually drilled out with a ball burr just a few holes in here to make some larger balls and keep them from rolling all over the place. So, all right. Okay, all right, so to get uniform sizes, you have to cut the same size pieces of wire, and I will use fine silver for that, which is, where is that? Did I pull out the fine silver? I don't think I did. All right, hang on. All right, so here's some fine silver. I see we keep getting interrupted, but thankfully it's only momentary. And I'm gonna probably use a piece of 14 gauge wire. And this, I've never gotten it to be exactly accurate with this method, but I try to cut off about the same size pieces of wire. And I like to do it on a charcoal block because they tend to stay more round shaped. But I'm also going to show you another way, which you may or may not already know, of using bezel wire. And that might be a little bit more pricey to do that. But if you have bezel wire that you don't care for, this is a good way to use it up. And what I'm going to do here, what makes it easy, is I'm going to cut, this is scalloped bezel wire. So I'm going to cut 2 scallops, and that ensures that the balls are all going to be the same. Where's my, here we go. I'll show you the wire first. You've probably, most of you have probably seen all of this already, but for the sake of others that haven't, we'll do this. All right, for this I'm just going to use my regular butane torch. And once it forms the roundness, I just give it another little shot just to make sure that it's nice and round. And it's quick. You see how it just balls up real nice. Kind of spin it around a little bit. Here's one more here. I move them, I keep them apart because if you keep them too close, sometimes they kind of gravitate towards each other, and then you get a much larger ball. This one kind of fell into a little gully right there. Okay, so that's nice and round. And I just give them a quick second to cool a little, and then I'll pick them up and quench. Oh, I must have something sticky on my pliers. Yep, there must, some of that tape must have got on there. Okay. Okay. All right, now I will do the bezel wire. This is fine silver also. This is so fast. And you want to take into consideration the size of the water castings that you're using so that you don't make your balls too large to fit within them. This one looks a little weird. I think because it was in the crack. Yeah, it kind of made a little bit of a mark. All right. So we'll do a little comparison of our balls. I'm going to let that go. Up. My balls are flopping around. All right. Oh, water casting on a loose. All right, so I don't know what I got on there. All right, so here are there is a little size difference. This was made with the wire, and these were made with the bezel wire, the bezel strip. So this is 2 scallops. These are 2 scallops for measuring purposes. And, you know, I just didn't take the time to measure how much wire I cut off, you know, for the wire one, but you get the idea. And then, where are those ones that I just sanded? I must have put those in the pickle. Anyway, so here's a bezel, a water casting cup that I did not clean yet, but that'll fit right inside there. This one's not got a flat bottom on it. Okay, but that's a good size ball for the inside. But you know, if you want to go with a little larger, that's fine, as long as it fits in there. It could be a lot bigger, I guess. Let's see, I think I've got some that I made previously. Here's a big honker, and that looks okay too in there. Sometimes you get a little dimple on the bottom, so I want to make sure that that dimple goes down. So actually it doesn't look bad with a larger ball in there too. I guess it's just, you know, it's just your taste, whatever you want to do. So when I go to solder these, let's see here. All right, when you go to solder these, the flat piece, you know, you want to make sure that this part is flat. How do I want to describe this? Say if, well, I don't have a ring totally. Let me get these ones out of the pickle. Isn't this little thing just the cutest? I took a lid from some kind of jar, and I drilled some holes in the bottom of it, and then I just made a wire handle with it, and it fits nicely inside of my little jelly jar. I love coming up with little things like that. They're fun. Okay, so that's, yeah, these are the ones that I filed on the bottom. It makes things much easier because it's a real balancing act if you don't do that, and chances are stuff's not gonna work too well if you're putting a rounded surface on a rounded surface. That might not end well. So here's the, where are you guys? Here's the ones I sanded. Okay, So those fit nice in there. All right, just like that. So if I was going to do a ring or something, I don't have that set up here, but if I had, I'd have this in my third hand. I'd have my my water casting upside down and go over the seam here. And I will use solder paste for these applications because I find it easier to hold everything together. It's kind of like a glue. But you could, if you didn't want to use solder paste, you could put a little piece of solder on here, melt it in, you know, and then put it all together, hold it up, and do that. Now within the cup, I generally will put a small piece of easy wire solder in there with my ball, and that will melt in there as well. So, you know, it's you got to figure out how things, how you can balance all this stuff. Let me stop right here and answer any questions, and then I will keep moving on with some other suggestions. I've never had good luck with doing copper for water casting. I've had, I don't know, they're just all wrinkly and stuff. I've never gotten the real cup shape with that. But you could try it, and if it works for you, please let us know. Hey Mary, you did make it. Good for you. Okay, yeah, I haven't had a lot of luck with the copper. I would love it if it worked. Let's see, if you make jump rings, they will be the same size. Okay, jump rings. Deb says jump rings work good to make the same size balls. That's a very good idea. That is very good. I'll have to do that. I'll have to try that. All right, so for this, oh, my charcoal block. For the bracelet component that I made, where is that? All right, for the bracelet component, I put 3 little castings on here. That's just the way I did it. And I used my Peppy disc punch to make the hole here, and just a regular 2-hole punch or punch pliers for the other end. And you know, you prepare your metal first, so you have to have that curve on there already. But the metal is curved, and you're trying to solder flat. So let me just do this one up real quick. Where's my hole punch? I had them out here. Honestly, oh, here it is. All right, so let's say I want to make, okay, I'm going to be using this. It's a 3/8 inch punch. I'm going to, I remembered my cut lube this time. I think I just need to keep it in the box that I keep the disc cutter in. All right. And of course I don't have a shim. You know, if I have one thing, I don't have something else. So let's see. All right, I have a piece of copper here. I'll just stick that in here. All right, so I'm going to make the hole for the bracelet right here. And, you know, like I do everything, I eyeball it. So I just kind of want to make sure I have the center. So I'm going to put, oh, but I want to do it on the opposite side. I like to cut on the opposite side of the copper or the metal because sometimes you get like a burr that's rather, I don't know, it needs to be filed off, and sometimes it messes up your design. So if I go from the back and cut, I don't know if that makes sense to you or not, but that's my way of thinking. Knock these off here. I shouldn't probably be on my tile. Wrong one. I broke a tile last time, so that I tried doing this, so I'm going to pull this off of the tile. Honestly, if it's a little off center, it's off center. And save your little disc. You can do something with it. And this one, yeah, I'm slightly off a little bit. That's okay. It matches my personality. This is one of Rolling Mill Resources impression patterns, or Rolling Mill patterns. I absolutely love this one. It's my favorite, I think, of all time. This one is the root tip pattern. I love it. All right, so I'm gonna, so you prepare your metal ahead of time. All right. And I'm going to use my wooden bowl, dapping bowl here, because I just want a slight curve. I don't want anything real curvy. I go down in the center and then kind of just walk this all the way around so that it's uniform and it sits flat. And there's no teetering. Okay, so you've got your piece of metal all prepared. I was consistent. I was off on the big hole and a little off on the small hole. All right. That's my MO. I'm consistent. All right. Get this out of the way. And then I am going to use, since my piece is curved, I'm going to use some of my titanium shims to prop up my piece. Boy, this charcoal block gets everywhere. It's very dirty to work with. All right, so I'm going to get on here. Bear with me, you guys. All right, so what I'm going to do is build up a little pile of titanium. And, you know, I've randomly cut these different shapes of no great shape or anything, but just they're not evenly cut or anything. That doesn't matter. But what I want to do is just prop this up so those water castings will stay stable while I solder them. Because if I just kept it like this with the paste solder, they'll probably slide as they're getting heated up. So, and I don't want that. I want them to stay where I put them. So, you know, this is basically how I would set it up. I've got my sanded bottom on here. Okay, here's the other one. So all three of those have flat bottoms. And I would have put my solder paste, a dab of solder paste on there. And another thing, before I go any farther with this, is, you know, determine where I want to put them. And then I would take some whiteout. And I'm new to this. I read somebody was using it. I know this has been around a long time, but it's new to me as far as using it. To act as a barrier so that your solder, the silver solder, doesn't flow onto the copper, I would like draw a ring around. And this could be messy. I'm no pro at this, so it could squeeze all out. I would just make a little ring around my castings. Come on. I don't have a whiteout with a brush, and I'm wondering if that might be better. I don't know. But I'm just drawing a ring around where my castings are going to be placed so that my solder doesn't flow outside of that line. And, you know, I did it for the first time on this sample bracelet, and it worked really well. It was a little bit, I had to take like a brush to get it off, a little bit of a wire brush after it was soldered, but it actually really kept the silver solder from flowing outside of that ring. So that's a thought. However, when you use things like this, you know, I don't know what chemicals are in here. They're probably not good to breathe. So I put my fume trap on, and I have a fan blowing in here, and I also have an exhaust fan, and I keep all those things going when I'm doing stuff like this, so I'm not breathing all of that. Okay, so theoretically, let's just say I put the solder paste on here, because I'm not going to do that right now, but I mean, I'm not actually going to solder it. I'm just showing you how it can be done. All right, so all my little guys are there, and then I would take a small piece of easy solder, wherever I put that, my trusty tooth, and put a little small piece of easy solder in each casting. And then put my balls in. Just like that. And then go ahead and torch. So everything should be, damn, I gotta clean these. Okay. So that's how I would tackle that. And that's the same, you know, I'll show you the other ones on the wire too. But that's how I would solder this piece, just like that. Okay. So if you don't have any titanium shims, you can get a piece of titanium or two from Rio Grande, and cut them up in little pieces, and that way you can have a nice stack of them to use. Yeah, I know the fumes are bad, and that's why I say to use caution with this stuff. I'm looking, I'm not seeing anything about being water-based or not. So that's why I guess I'll have to research this a little bit more, but you know, that's why I always use my fume trap when I'm working with solder paste or other things that might emit chemicals that I don't want to breathe. Have my exhaust fan and another fan to kind of circulate the air. That's very important. And if you know, if you're paranoid about it, you can wear a respirator while you're working. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, I know a lot of people wear those. It's not my jam exactly, but you know, you got to take care of yourself. So whatever works for you, I would recommend doing that. Okay. All right. So that is for the bracelet part. Now for the earrings, and I honestly, well, I think this is sterling because it's scorched right here. For the long earrings or the short earrings, let's see here. For these, I did the same thing. I basically just made a ring and soldered it, just did a loop. And where I'm going to put these, you know, I hammered this with the back of the chasing hammer just to get a little bit of texture. But down here where I'm going to attach the water castings, I would maybe sand this a little bit to make it a little bit more flat, just to ensure that your pieces are going to lay flat. I'm taking these off of the bracelet part that I was making. This is also another area where you can use a shim. If you cut them nicely, you can cut them even smaller, and you can put a small piece within and a small piece on the outside to help balance that water casting. But if you're using solder paste, that's going to help it stay on the wire just by itself, okay? Because they're going to inevitably want to fall off. So that's the other. These pliers, or tweezers, I mean. So if I took a little bit, just for demonstration, if I took a little bit of solder paste on here, a little bit goes a long way. You know, that makes it stay, okay? However, when you introduce the flame to it, it could start to slide because the solder paste is melting. So you want to be close by with your tools to kind of guide it back on track there. It doesn't take long for it to stick though to it. So that's how you would line those up. You know, you just put your pieces on there, put your little wire solder in there and the ball, and you'd solder it all at the same time. Okay. All right, and then for these earrings, I took a 2-inch piece of 14 gauge wire, and I pounded it with my chasing hammer. There's my ruler. You could get by with a shorter piece. I happen to wind that around there, but you know, you don't have to have that much of an overhang loop. if you don't want. But that's what I did, is I took a 2-inch piece of 14 gauge sterling, all right, and then this, I'll go ahead and I'll pound it on here. There you go. Oh, here you are. And you want to get that as straight as you can. And I'm going to get my chasing hammer. You could probably do this with sheet too. I just haven't. Well, maybe not with the, curling the end. But maybe. And then your wire's going to distort a little bit. It always does when you're hammering it. And what I'll normally do then is just lay it on its side and kind of fix any places that aren't laying down quite flat. And then there's the good old fingers to move it around a little bit. Then I will take my sanding stick and file these edges just to get any little rough bits off of there. You can make bigger paddles, if you stretch out your metal a little bit. It depends on what you want to do. But basically, I'm just trying to attach these water castings to this. And just try to get it straightened as much as possible. If I'm left with a little bit of a wavy end, that'll be the end that I'm going to turn into the bail part. All right, so there again, you've got your base here, and then you're going to take your water castings with your sticky tweezers. Well, hopefully you don't have sticky tweezers. And I just put one at the very bottom, but if you wanted some wire sticking out, you could do that. But you'd need a little bit of solder paste on here as well to do your 3, and you solder those on. And then once you've soldered them, then I would take my round nose pliers and just form a loop. So, I mean, there's lots of fun things that you can do with the water castings. It's only limited by your imagination, like many things, It's just lots of fun. So let me check if there are any other questions that hopefully I can answer. Yeah, yellow ochre works good too. Maybe that's safer. I don't know. I know I ordered some. I have to think of where I got it. Oh no, did you put that, Lena? Oh, that's correction stuff. I'll see where I got my yellow ochre from and see if I can put that as a link. But that's something that I haven't really done, and I work with a lot of copper and I solder on there a lot, and then I always have to plate the copper afterwards, which isn't really bad, but it's just another step. And maybe you can prevent that by using the yellow ochre or, the whiteout. But I've seen people use both. I just really haven't done it. So I'm going to really try to work with it and see if it makes it a lot nicer. I know I was pleasantly surprised how well this one soldered, and the cleanup on the whiteout was, a little bit, but it wasn't bad. And then what I did is I stuck it in the liver of sulfur all when it was all done, and it cleaned up pretty nice. And then I tumbled it. I don't usually tumble copper more than 10 or 15 minutes. I think it, at least in my experience, it takes on, I don't know, maybe a little more gray tone to it or something. And I just find, 10 or 15 minutes is enough to kind of set, if you will, the liver of sulfur, so then it doesn't come off on your skin, because that's kind of nasty. I don't like that. Okay, Dawn, you're saying you can order that from Dick Blick. Okay, that's probably an easy place to find. They have all kinds of art supplies, so I'm going to give that a shot. I bought it for a project that I ended up not doing, and I should try it and give it a shot, because like I said, I don't like having that silver line. If you haven't heard this before, copper solder is available, but when you use it, it still turns silver on your metal. So you have to deal with that to get rid of that silver line by copper plating your piece, which requires pickle. In my experience, it needs to be blue pickle. The pickle turns blue when it's old, at least the pickle that I use. Actually, I'm using two different kinds. I have a crock pot with citric pickle. That's the one that turns blue for sure. And I always keep that on hand, so that way I have the pickle to plate. And then I also use like a pool additive, and I can't think of the name of it right now, but it's for swimming pools. And you put that in, and that I've not ever seen turn blue, but it probably would work. I'm just a creature of habit, so I just stay with the old blue pickle, and I use that with some steel wool. Some people put nails in it, steel nails or something. Anything that's steel, I guess, will get that copper plating reaction going. But I just keep my steel wool, like when it's all ratty and used up, I just have a little dish that I keep that in there, and when I need to plate, I put a piece of that in the blue pickle and put my piece on top of that, and then put another piece of steel wool on it. The pickle's hot. I keep it heated for about 10 or 15 minutes, and it looks pretty good. It has that nice coppery look to it. So, but that's another step. So if the yellow ochre or the whiteout eliminates that step, all the better. So you can try that. Deb, you're saying your pH down turns blue? Okay. Okay, that's good to know. All right. Sunny, any steel wool, it doesn't matter what number it is. It can be real coarse, or it can be fine. It doesn't matter. I only use the 4O steel wool, the 4000 steel wool, because it's the finest, and I think that that's nice, to polish with, take off the liver of sulfur. But any steel wool will work for the pickle process or the plating process. Okay. All right. Okay, well, do you guys have any questions on what I'm doing? today. I mean, I thought it was a lot of material to cover, and it was easier if I just showed you different ways to use the castings instead of actually making a project. Um, but you know, I hope you didn't expect to see me from start to end with all of these projects, because that just couldn't happen. Especially on a demo. You know, I try to keep my demos within an hour to an hour and a half. And, you know, when you're covering a lot of material, it's hard to take all of these steps, you know, like this. So if you make some water castings and you use them in your products or your pieces, I'd like to see what you do with them, because, you know, like I said, you're not limited to just what I did, you know. And I know Francesca Watson did a beautiful bangle. She did a really neat bangle. I think she said it was a little dicey trying to keep it all together while she was soldering those pieces on, but it was really cool. And you know, she's put them on other things too. So, you know, there's ideas out there. You know, you just make them your own. You do something a little bit different, make it your own, and have fun with it. So, let's see. Yeah, you know, Dawn, I love doing this. A lot of times you know, my thoughts are kind of scattered, and you know, I want to share a lot of different things with you guys, and I'm not really sure in the order to put it all in. But if you get the gist of it, that's what's important. So, all right. In other news, I just got beads in for the Kumihimo, the holiday Kumihimo bracelets the kits that I'm offering. So I'll be starting to put those together. If you want one, just let me know soon, you know, within the next couple of days. So that way, I'll make sure I have everything, enough of everything for everybody, because once it gets past a certain point, I won't be ordering any more stuff. So that's that. I'm not sure what I'm going to do next week, but I'm thinking, if the weather cooperates and my friend Rhonda can get here, I'm thinking of maybe doing a demo on making your own impression plates. We did that together a couple of summers ago, and it was pretty cool. It's a huge, I don't know, it takes a lot of different steps, and we watched Leslie Kale Villarreal's demo or video on doing that a few years ago, and ordered all the stuff, and then we did it outside. So that's why I'm saying, if the weather cooperates, we might be able to do that next week. If the weather's bad, I don't know what I'll do yet. I have a few things on the back burner, but nothing concrete. So speaking of that, Sunny says cement. Sunny sent me a video from someplace that was very fun to watch. It was making things out of concrete or cement, you know, and that was a fun project. So, I mean, maybe sometime, if there's enough interest, maybe I'll do that too. But summer would probably be better to do, you know, that kind of a project outdoors. And, you know, then there's the time factor too. You know, some things I have to brush up on how to make those plates, because it seems to me there was a time element. You know, you have to let them cook in the acid for so long, and you know, you have to make the stencils, you know, to make your impression and stuff. And you know, it's something that I'd like to show you guys. Maybe you already know how to do it, I don't know, but it might be a fun thing to do together. And my buddy Rhonda would be with me, because she helps me with that kind of stuff. We have lots of fun together, and we get in trouble together too. financially, we get into a lot of trouble. Let me see if I have one of those plates. I think I do. This is the steel that I bought, but if I was to do it again, I would get the longer ones. These are fine, but I think I would like a longer area for design. And let's see. Oh, I've been sitting too long. These were some of the ones that we made together that I used my silhouette machine for. So we got the patterns. This one, they get rusty, unfortunately, and I have them in a covered container with those little desiccant pouches, but they still get caca. So there's this one I didn't etch yet. This one's got the stencil on it, but I haven't etched it yet. So there are lots of fun possibilities. It's a messy job though. There's no question about it. So that's kind of fun. I will have all that information. I'll have to check Leslie's video again and write down where she got them. Some company, steel company that sells them. And there's lots of choices to pick up, but she gave a very specific kind of steel, so that will be helpful if you go to purchase that. So, all right, guys, I don't think I have anything else. If you decide you have some other questions on something, just message me in the group. I am going to put the handout in the group in just a few minutes. I will also have some Amazon links of some of the stuff that I used today if you want to get it from there. Oh, I forgot to show you something else that's very handy. One more thing, very handy with cleaning the water castings. And if you haven't seen this before, or if you have it and haven't used it, this is a polishing pin that you can put in your flex shaft. And they come in two different sizes. There's a 2mm and a 3mm. I have both, but I prefer, at least for small things, I prefer the 2mm because you can get into, you can actually get into these cups really well. Let me just show you that. If you need to have them polished. You like my look? It's pretty sad. Anyway, there's different grits of the little polishing sticks that go inside. And for this, I would use, let's see here. I would use my little acrylic block again, and I would press down my water casting into the tape adhesive real well. Let me push this down. And then you can clean, sometimes the insides of these castings get gunky, and you can take this little polishing pin and clean out those little small areas. This isn't good just for this. It's good for a lot of small, tight little areas that you need to polish. So it does a good job. So like I said, that was something I wanted. Oh, I should have shut it off first. Yeah, so that's another cool thing to use. All right. I think I've talked enough. I've yapped enough for today. All right, guys. Yeah, I'll post all those links and all that stuff, and then I'll give an update on the Kumihimo kits, and we'll go from there. All right. So until next week, thanks for joining me. I'm always happy when you guys are here, when I'm doing it live. It's not like I'm talking to myself then. All right, so see you guys. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching.